USDA Civil Rights Requirements in Child Nutrition Programs. This training presentation is developed and provided by Oregon Department of Education. This session is a review of the USDA Civil Rights Requirements for Child Nutrition Programs. All sponsors of child nutrition programs, including the Child and Adult Care Food Program, National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program, Summer Food Service Program, Special Milk Program, and USDA Foods must comply with Federal Civil Rights Program as part of their agreement with the Oregon Department of Education. Civil rights requirements are intended to ensure benefits of child nutrition programs are made available to all eligible participants in a non-discriminatory manner. All sponsors receiving federal monies must implement the civil rights requirement to be eligible for the program. Discrimination is defined as different treatment to people which make a distinction of one person or a group of persons from others, either intentionally, by neglect, or by the actions or lack of actions based on the protected classes. The federal government, including USDA, has the following protected classes: race, color, national origin, sex, age, and disability. Discrimination can be easily remembered by thinking of the 4 Ds. Discrimination is when an individual or group of individuals are delayed receiving benefits or services that others receive, denied benefits or services that others receive, treated differently than others to their disadvantage, or given disparate treatment, something which does not seem discriminatory but has a discriminatory impact in practice. Any participant or potential participant may submit a civil rights complaint of unequal treatment verbally, in writing, or may be observed. Complainants may choose to directly contact USDA with their complaint, contact Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program with their complaint, or they may notify the sponsor of their complaint. The sponsor must forward all discrimination complaints received regarding child nutrition programs to the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program office within 3 working days. A complaint can be filed within 180 days of the alleged discriminatory action. All sponsors must develop a written civil rights complaint procedure and implement this procedure. Sponsors may adopt Oregon Department of Education's prototype procedure located on the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition website. If sponsors choose this option, be sure to put your sponsor's name at the top of the procedure and then train all staff on this procedure. The civil rights complaint procedure is as follows. A civil rights complaint is received by the sponsor either verbally or in writing. Next, the sponsor logs the complaint in the civil rights complaint log. Additionally, the sponsor gives the complainant the civil rights complaint form, or the sponsor assists the complainant to complete the civil rights complaint form, if needed. If the complainant returns the civil rights complaint form to the sponsor must forward the civil rights complaint form to Oregon Department of Education program within 3 working days. Civil rights complaint forms must be readily available at all sites, including the main office if it is not a serving site. The sponsor must make every attempt to help the complainant complete the civil rights complaint form. All discrimination complaints must be documented in the Civil Rights Complaint Log. The Civil Rights Complaint Log must be dated and kept for 3 years plus current year, even if no complaints have been received. At the end of the fiscal year, please write across the log, "No complaints received," if no complaints were received that year. The short version of the non-discrimination statement is shown here. Federal regulation allow use of a shorter non-discrimination statement on program material mentioning USDA or child nutrition programs if the material is 1 page or less in length. 1 page equals 8.5 by 11 front and back. Examples would be brochures, coupons, electronic benefit cards, menus, and flyers. The shorter statement must be the same size print as the text of the document. Sponsors may use the name of the sponsor instead of the words "this institution" in the short non-discrimination statement. This slide shows the long version of the non-discrimination statement. Sponsors must use the long non-discrimination statement on all publications that are over 1 page. 1 page equals 8.5 by 11 front and back that mention USDA child nutrition programs. The long statement must be in the same size print as the text of the document. The USDA non-discrimination long statement contains numerous protected classes, which will not apply to all programs. The 6 protected classes relevant to Oregon child nutrition programs remains limited to race, color, national origin, sex, age, and disability. The non-discrimination statement must be included on program materials such as enrollment forms, menus, employee handbooks, newsletter, brochures, parent or student handbook, print or broadcast ads, flyers, and websites. It is the responsibility of all sponsors to ensure program access for those with limited English proficiency, LEP. LEP is defined as individuals who have limited ability to read, speak, write, or understand English. Reasonable steps must be taken to ensure meaningful access to programs and activities. Some examples of reasonable accommodation may include providing documents in a variety of languages, providing translation services to those that need help in completing applications, or providing verbal information for those that are unable to read the written information provided. Consider these factors when determining reasonable steps to accommodating limited English proficiency. Number or proportion of people with limited English proficiency in a service population area. The greater the number, the higher the need. The frequency with which agency or sponsors have or could expect to have contact with an individual from different language groups seeking assistance. The more frequent the contact with a particular language group, the more likely that enhanced language services in that language are needed. The importance of the service provided. Will denial of service cause a serious life-threatening implication? And then resources available and the costs involved. Share resources to save money. Here are some resources: the ODE CMP Civil Rights webpage, the NSLP and CACFP Household Application and other pertinent documents in other languages, and a website for further information about LEP. Please visit any of these resources. Sponsors are to collect racial and ethnic data annually and maintain the data on file. Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program may require to see this information at any time. Additionally, Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program will review the racial and ethnic data during administrative reviews. Please do not send racial and ethnic data to Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs unless requested. The Child and Adult Care Food Program and Summer Food Service Program have specific forms to report the information and keep in your file. The form is listed on the resource page at the end of this presentation. An important point to note regarding racial and ethnic data collection is that it's optional for participants to provide you with racial and ethnic information. However, it is a requirement for sponsors to collect and maintain racial and ethnic data on an annual basis. Sponsors may collect racial and ethnic data of the participants from the information provided on the confidential income statement, CIS, or meal application that the household member completes. Since the racial and ethnic section is optional for the household to complete, it may not be provided. If the racial and ethnic information is not provided by the household or the sponsor does not distribute CIS or meal applications, sponsors' knowledge of the participant's ethnicity and race or visual identification may be used to determine a participant's racial and ethnic category. School districts may also use student enrollment information. Racial and ethnic data collection is a two-step process. Separate categories will be used when collecting and reporting race and ethnicity of participants. You may collect this information either from enrollment records or actual attendance. The information is recorded from a specific point in time, for instance, 1 day or 1 month, depending on what information you have available to you. Ethnicity is determined first, then racial designation second. Summary. The Civil Rights Must-Do list. Sponsors must offer any child nutrition program in a non-discriminatory manner. They must train staff annually on civil rights, document the training on the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program training form, and retain the documentation on file for 3 years plus the current year. They must develop and fully implement the sponsor's civil rights complaint procedure and make available to all staff civil rights complaint forms, civil rights complaint log, and civil rights complaint procedures. Additionally, sponsors must prominently display and Justice for All poster. The non-discrimination statement must be on all printed and electronic materials available to the public with mention USDA and/or Child Nutrition Program meals and snacks. Sponsors must offer meals to all participants in a non-discriminatory manner, and racial and ethnic data must be collected annually. For USDA civil rights resources such as posters, complaint forms, and prototype civil rights procedure templates, go to Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program public website to the Nutrition Civil Rights page. CACFP Center sponsors may also reference the CACFP Policy and Procedure Manual online. Chapter 11. Hyperlinks to both websites are available on this slide for your convenience. This slide shows USDA's non-discrimination statement. The USDA and the state of Oregon are equal opportunity providers and employers.